If you're ready to explore the Hebrew roots of your Christian faith, then grab your Bible and let's get started. Welcome to Reconcile the Kingdom, where we're working towards becoming a harmony of the whole word of truth. My name is Patrice Robinson, and I appreciate you coming by here on today. We are at the time of the year for the latter feast, the feast that comes towards the ending of the year, what people will call the fall feast. Today, we'll be focused on the Feast of Trumpets. Hebrew, among the Jewish faith, it is called Yom Teruah. Many of the Jewish faiths call this the head of the year, Rosh Hashanah, but this is the seventh biblical month, and I'm not sure how they have the seventh month as the head of the year. Some say since the first temple was destroyed, the people made the feast the head of the year, mainly because the Feast of Trumpets required sacrifices. Well, many of the feasts require sacrifice. But one thing to think about, what has happened since the first temple that Solomon built, once the Babylonians came and destroyed the temple, the Ark of Covenant was taken and has not been seen since then. So the Ark of Covenant was in the second temple of Zerubbabel. In Yeshua's days of Herod, there was no Ark of Covenant in it. Just keep that in mind. Now, this is the seventh month of the year, and all of this changes in the days of the month, the names of the month, I should say, and the changing of the feasts began when they was in Babylon. So that's all that came out of Babylon. They even have the Babylon Talmud. So it is just most of this stuff came from Babylon, and you can look that up yourself when you look at the names of the months and things like that. They even have Tammuz, the month of Tammuz. And if you read the Bible and understand what Tammuz means, you're like, why would they have that name as a god? I'm just dumbfounded by that, and other names too. But we're gonna move on. I want to bring our focus to understanding the feast itself. So last year I did a teaching from the first trumpet that we hear sounded in the book of Exodus all the way to the last trumpet that we hear in the book of Revelation. So I'm not going to go through all that information this year, and if you want, you can always look up that video. I will leave a link in the description box. We need to focus on the feast itself and the way that we should continue this feast. So let's bring the word into this. Make sure you have your Bible before you, because you cannot study without the Bible. You cannot understand things without the Bible. You can't understand what the Bible is teaching you or what's in it without opening it and read it. So we're going to get an understanding of the feast. And so we're going to read what Yehovah himself told Moses about the Feast of Trumpets. This is what our focus is going to be on today. So when you get prepared to celebrate the Feast of Trumpets, you will understand it. So Leviticus chapter 23, verses 23 through 25. Again, Yehovah spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the sons of Israel, saying, in the seventh month, on the first of the month, you should have a rest, a reminder by blowing of the trumpets, a holy convocation. You should not do any labor's work, but you shall present an offering by fire to Yehovah." These are specific instructions that Yehovah gave to Moses, to his people, to honor these specific days as a memory of the blowing of the trumpets. And when did we first hear the blowing of the trumpets? We're not going into that, but that was in Exodus when he was coming to speak to the children of Israel for the very first time as a group, as a marriage ceremony. The trumpet began to blow, the announcing of his coming, and all that was just too much for the people. Again, you should go to the video that I created last year, so we won't go too much into that. Before we go any further, I want to go to Numbers and get more details about this Feast of Trumpets, of what's supposed to happen. Now in the seventh month, on the first day of the month, you should have a holy assembly. You should do no labor's work. It will be to you a day of blowing trumpets. You shall offer a burnt offering as a soothing aroma to Yehovah. 1 bull, 1 ram, 7 male lambs that's 1 year old without any defects. Also, their grain offering, fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 of an ephah for the bull, 2/10 of a ram, the 10th of each of the 7 lambs, and 1 male goat as a sin offering to make an atonement for you. Besides the burnt offering of the new moon and the grain offering and continuing burnt offering and its grain offering and their drink offerings, according to the ordinance for a soothing aroma and offering by fire to Yehovah. We have a lot of instructions in Numbers. You're told in Leviticus what this is. You're told in Numbers what you do on the first day of the 7th month. The question is how we know when the first day of this month is. Again, the calendar, it goes by the renewed moon. Every new moon that shows a start of a new month. The moon is not renewed. The moon comes on again. And there's something to say about that, about the renewed moon and the renewed covenant in the New Testament. We'll get there one day. So not only we have the Feast of Trumpets that's on the first day, but we have the Feast of the New Moon, which is the first day of the new month. So every new month, there's a feast and rejoicing of a new month that's come along every biblical month. Now you have 2 feasts on the same day. So you have the Feast of Trumpets, which is a high Sabbath, which requires no labor's work, and it requires a holy assembly. No labor work, that means you do not do any normal day-to-day work. Your animals don't work. Your employees don't work. Your housekeeper don't work. You put no one to work. This is the day of rest from the normal day-to-day work. This is the day you assemble among believers. Except, there's an exception. The preachers, the teachers, the priests, the workers, they are not in the ministry. They don't have a restful, normal 7th day. So that 7th day is an exception for them because they will actually have more work to do than their normal day-to-day work because they belong to the work of the ministry. Who do you think was offering the offerings on that day? The priest was still working. They was required to offer for the Feast of the Trumpets. They was required to sacrifice the 1 bull, the ram, the 7 male lambs, 1 year old with no defect, the grain offering, the flour offering, the mixed oils and the rams, and they was required to do all that, and 1 male goat as a sin offering to make an atonement, plus the blowing of the trumpets. Now, besides the new moon offering, which they also had to offer, just because the Feast of Trumpets came in, you don't ignore the offerings that's supposed to happen for the new moon. So you have the Feast of Trumpets offering, and you have the new moon offering, and the day-to-day offering. So that was a very busy day. So every renewed moon, what is those offerings? The burnt offering of new moon is a grain offering, and the continued burnt offering of the grain offering and the drink offerings according to the ordinance with a soothing aroma offering by fire to Yehovah. So there was the new moon offerings, and again the Feast of Trumpets offering and the day-to-day offerings. And all these things that we're doing, this is the feast. To understand, we talked about this last year. This is the feast that no one knows the day or the hour that it comes because it is set by the first day of the month, which means we're looking for the new moon, the renewed moon to show up, and there's either going to be these other 2 days. Now, if you continue to read in the Tanakh, it will begin to show you that they have a 2-day festival waiting, excited about this new renewed moon because they don't know when it's going to happen. So they break it down into two days celebration. And all these things that we're doing, all the feasts that we're beholding, all the things that we're practicing here on earth is rehearsal. So we practice this day to day of our lives. When all the believers will eventually hear the trumpet and be gathered, the elect will be gathered at that moment. This is why Paul, Shaul in his Hebrew name, says, therefore, no one is to act as your judge in regard to food and drink, or to respect to a festival, or a new moon, or a Sabbath day, things which are only a shadow is what to come, but the substance belongs to the Messiah. So what we're doing is just shadows of what is to come when he comes. Remember, the first time he came as a prophet to correct the people to go back to the ways of Yehovah, his father. His father sent him to correct them, so that in between him leaving this first time and returning back the second time, we are a bride getting prepared for the marriage supper of the Lamb. And this is why you still see Paul, Shaul, and the other disciples, they are still honoring and participating in these feasts, because Yeshua sent his son again to get the people back on track to do the things that they're supposed to do, like Yehovah gave those instructions to Moses for a specific reason. This is why we are in rehearsal to get ready for the marriage supper of the Lamb. If you study the prophet's book like Ezekiel as an example, you will then see that Yeshua comes back to reign as the king from the tribe of Judah, that the feast will be in place in the people's lives. So the feast will be taking place. So if you think the feast were here and then they gone and they come back again, that means we're not seeing the whole plan of Yehovah. We have to see the whole plan, that we are in rehearsal. Yeshua came back to get us together, so we're now in rehearsal for all the nations and not just for the children of Israel this time. Don't forget to sound your shofars. Have a blessed rest of the day. Have a very festive Feast of Trumpets. And then we will actually have another discussion, just a short discussion. I don't know how long it's going to be. We will have a discussion for the next biblical feast that is designed by Yehovah. It is the Day of Atonement, which is 10 days later after the Feast of Trumpets. May Yehovah bless you and keep you. May Yehovah shine his face on you and give you his favor. May he shine his face towards you and give you his peace. In the mighty name of Yeshua. Amen. Thank you.